Mr. Acting Speaker, I rise to convey the concerns and frustrations of thousands of people in my electorate with the increasing traffic chaos in Mascot. The high-density Mascot train station precinct has undergone several major development and infrastructure changes in my time as a member for Heffron, changes that have entirely and irrevocably altered the very character of the area. Lightning-fast growth has brought thousands of extra vehicles to Mascot, an area where the road network efficiency should have been key due to the proximity of both Port Botany and Sydney Airport. Instead, over the last decade, I have stood in this chamber 14 times to warn previous Liberal governments that the very utility of the state road network in my electorate of Heffron will be compromised by one word, one fiction, relied upon by those opposite to sell some notion that they had any clue on how to build a better Sydney. And that word was WestConnex. It was a marketing strategy before it was a plan, a thick, meaningless line on a map before it was a project, a lemon before it was even investigated for feasibility. Because if those opposites had taken the time to examine the specifics, like whether or not you could realistically funnel 60,000 eastbound vehicles per day into suburbs like Mascot, Alexandria, East Lakes, Rosebery and St Peters, they would have thought twice about their legacy. To my residents, their legacy is one of folly, failure and frustration, because once these toll roads to nowhere started being built, the hapless government of the day realised that cars on those roads would need to be able to exit somewhere, and our local road networks have been the ones to suffer for it. In fact, in the 2015 Environmental Impact Statement for the new M5 project, the travel times in the small area of our community would improve by as little as 30 seconds as a result of road widening and other associated works. Meanwhile, that same EIS warned that traffic on suburban streets throughout Heffron would increase by almost 50%. At the same time, I recall standing in this chamber saying verbatim that this project would quote, create an absolute catastrophe that no government will be able to fix, unquote. I even took the former Minister for Planning, Dr. Rob Stokes, down to St Peters to see firsthand the impact the WestConnex would have in the traffic in my electorate, and not surprisingly, congestion on nearby roads, including Botany Road and Burke Street and Gardeners Road, has predictably intensified. Sure enough, once the St Peters interchange opened, these predictions began to materialise. Then, like a band-aid over a leaky pipe, a new trend arose throughout Mascot of prohibiting right-hand turns on state roads. Prohibiting a right-hand turn is a direct product of the Liberal government's failing to listen to what I told them about how the St Peters interchange would negatively impact this area. I wouldn't exactly call that making lemonade from Liberals' lemons. Then in the lead up to Christmas last year, while residents were booking their first real holiday since the pandemic, Transport for New South Wales sent letterboxes to tiptoe through the Mascot streets. They brought no glad tidings, though, just an A4 sheet of paper notifying my constituents that an executive decision had been made which would affect their evening commutes. Like a robber in the night, that Grinch of a government sneakily removed yet another right-hand turn from the corner of Oriordan Street into Gardeners Road, all before residents even had a chance to return from their holidays. This change has meant that anyone living in Church Avenue, Kent Road, Jackson Drive, Buller Lane or Galloway Street received one last parting gift from the former government, a slow circular commute home. I don't think anyone writing out their New Year's resolutions thought, quote, you know what, I'd like to spend more time in my car, unquote. What's more, there was no attempt to seek community feedback. Since then, hundreds of Mascot residents have written to me about how this single change has added 30 minutes to their evening commute each and every day. All this because, you guessed it, Gardeners Road does not have the capacity to accommodate the traffic volumes leaving the M5 and M8 motorways. Congestion on major roads, including Botany Road and Burke Street, has intensified. It really is another kick in the teeth for a community that is already in gridlock due to the disastrous decisions of not listening to it over the WestConnex plan.
Well, I thank the member for Heffron. I call the member for Oatland.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. After what was a long and grilling election campaign,